Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to my channel JAHANGIR'S Science School. Today I am going to discuss about very important fundamental thing, balanced force and unbalanced force. According to the amount of resultant force or effective force acting on an object, forces are two types. One is balanced force, unbalanced force. So if two or more forces acting on an object but the resultant force is zero, then it is called balanced force. Say here an object, the amount of force acting to the right direction F1 is 50 Newton. On the other hand, amount of force acting to the left direction is F2, it is also 50 Newton. The magnitude of the force is same, but the direction of the force is opposite. One acting right direction, another acting left direction. So resultant force is zero here. Resultant force is zero. So here resultant force is zero. So that's why it is called balanced force. So F1 and F2 are balanced. On the other hand, if two or more forces acting on an object, but there is a force in a particular direction, so that force is known as unbalanced force. So what is a balanced force? If two or more forces acting on an object, say this one is object, so one force acting to the right direction, say F1 is say 100 Newton, and another force acting to the left direction F2, it is the magnitude of force also 100 Newton, but the direction of the force is left direction. So resultant force here, resultant force is zero. Resultant force is zero. That's why resultant force is zero. That's why F1 and F2 forces are considered as balanced force. If another extra force acting to the right direction, say 50 Newton, then the amount of effective force is 50 Newton to the right direction. So resultant force no more zero. So resultant force now no more zero. So now resultant force becomes 50 Newton to the right. So these forces are unbalanced force. So remember when a balanced force acting on an object, then object remains stationary or moves with constant velocity. According to the Newton's first law of motion, without external force, without any external unbalanced force, rest object remains in rest position and a moving object moves with constant velocity. So when an unbalanced force acting on an object, then object will accelerate or decelerate. Hooke's law. Today I am going to discuss about Hooke's law. What is Hooke's law? So first we have to learn about elasticity. What is elasticity? Elasticity is the property of the material by which a deforming object regains its original shape and size after removing the deforming force. So in our universe there are some special type material which have a special property, the property by which a deforming object regains its original shape and size after removing the deforming force. Say there is a spring So this is the original length of the spring. When we apply force on it, then it stretches its length, stretched length. If we withdraw this load force, then it regains its original shape and size due to elasticity. So elastic force, the force by which a deforming object regains its original shape and size after removing the deforming force. And extension is the new length minus original length of the elastic body. Hooke's law gives the relationship between the force applied to an unstretched spring and the amount of spring it stretches. Within elastic limit, elastic force is directly proportional to extension. So we can write within elastic limit, within elastic limit, within elastic limit, elastic force is directly proportional to extension. What is extension? New extension, we can calculate extension. Extension is denoted by x. Extension, new length minus original length. L naught is the original length of the spring. Say this one is the original length and this one is the new length after application of the load force. So when we apply a load, then the length of the spring is stretched, and when we withdraw this load force, then there is a special property within spring. It is called elasticity. By elastic force, the object regains its original shape. So within elastic limit, elastic force is directly proportional to extension. So we can write F is directly proportional to x. But remember, there is a minus sign. This minus sign indicates that the direction of the elastic force is opposite to the extension. This minus sign indicates that the direction of the elastic force. So elastic force acting upward direction, and applied force downwards. Sometimes in your book there written also applied force is directly proportional to extension. So if we replace this proportional sign by equal sign, there is a constant. This constant is known as spring constant or steepness. So K means force per unit extension. So amount of elastic force acting on the elastic body per unit extension is called steepness or spring constant. Unit is Newton per meter. So in a summary, within elastic limit, within elastic limit, elastic force is directly proportional to extension. So F is directly proportional to x, but there is a minus. This minus sign indicates that the direction of the elastic force is opposite to the extension. So extension occurs downwards, but the direction of the elastic force is upward. That's why there is a minus sign. And spring constant is the amount of elastic force experiences by an elastic body per unit extension is called spring constant or steepness. Spring constant, we call it spring constant or steepness.